We appreciate you guys listening to us. And if you got any questions after the fact, as you're watching us on replay, just reach out to us. Let us know. We'll be happy to answer anything. But again, I want to thank each and every one of you that are in the Profit Circle with us. We appreciate that. And Gaither, we'd love to have you in here with us. It's certainly not about the money. It's about making each and every one of our businesses better, is what the Profit Circle is all about. And for you guys that don't know, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I started in the lawn and landscaping business in 1979 in high school, like a lot of you guys did, and did that part-time, obviously. And we started Profits Unlimited in 1990, only because of the biggest issue I had for the first 8 years I was in business was how to properly price a job. And when we finally figured out a methodology that was professional and accurate, we decided, hey, we need to help other people in this industry with this same exact problem, because our main problem industry wide, as I've found out, in talking to a lot of contractors after the fact, is it wasn't just a Louisville, Kentucky market problem. It was an international problem, literally. Of we like to work hard, but sometimes we're not working as smart as we could from a bidding standpoint. So we have put together a bidding package information called Know Why You Charge What You Charge. And the reality of that is it's simple, it's accurate, and professional. And it certainly will help a person to understand their cost per hour of operation. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And the only reason that I decided about a month ago to do this on our webinar tonight was there's just so much bad information out there on social media. And Freddie, we appreciate you with us, my friend, tonight, joining us. And glad you're in here with us as well as a guest. But so my goal tonight is to simply go over a methodology. If you're already using something, great. If it's working for you, great. But I know a lot of softwares that are out there. Matter of fact, the majority of the softwares that are out there, it's not that they're bad. I mean, we use Single Ops is what we use. I mean, there's a free commercial for them. But a lot of the software that's out there, it just tells you to input a what do you want to charge per hour, and then they determine your profitability based on what that input is, but they don't tell you how to calculate what that hourly rate should be based on your own company's overhead and expenses and use rates. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And my goal is to just show you a methodology that if you're using something to compare it to, if you're not using anything, you guys are going to see how easy it is to implement it and use it within your own company. And but use something. I mean, use something. Don't just throw the darts. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get this started. And Mike, we appreciate you hopping in there with us, my friends. And I've had guys all over the country in Canada that are using this. We've literally got thousands of contractors since 1990 that are using this Know Why You Charge What You Charge information to help them within their business. And I'm not saying that to brag. You guys that know me know that. I'm just saying it because it's important. I was watching the other day. I got a sponsored ad went across Facebook as a Facebook sponsored ad about somebody that was going to help you calculate cost per hour of operation for your company. And they said they had 199 users. And it may be the best in the world. I don't know. I haven't bought it yet. And we generally buy everything that's out there. And I hadn't saw that one yet, because we like to see what ours is different and better than the others. But the constant feedback that we get about ours is it's simple and it's accurate and it's professional. So I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm going to show you what it looks like. We're going to create, or what I'm going to create tonight, so you guys know, is we're building a one truck operation. And know that the methodology will work for a one truck operation or a multi-crew company. It doesn't matter. Some of you guys may remember a company called Brickman. before they were bought out. They were a national firm. I actually did a lot of work with the Brickman Company with the snow side of their business. A lot of you guys that read the trade magazines have seen Mariani Landscape out of Chicago, Illinois. Frank and their whole team, they're a very large company doing millions of dollars a year. They actually utilized our know why you charge, what you charge information within their business. Excuse me. So I'm not saying that again to promote myself. I'm just saying a lot of companies, whether they're a one truck probably the smallest operation that we've had use our company, just came up recently, and that was a guy that was mowing 20 yards. And this was just about a month ago, and he reached out to us about getting it, and because I always ask people about the size of their company, and he said, hey, I'm only going to be doing about 20 yards. I'm not even doing it. It's my daughter and my son. He said, but I'm going to have them do something during the summer. But I figured if I was going to have the investment of the equipment, I was going to make sure we had our prices right. And so I share that story with you to just tell you this, that one truck operation or multi-crew company, the methodology will work, and it will work for your company. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share. We're creating a one truck operation. Before I do my screen share, we're doing a one truck operation. I want everybody to understand that these numbers are not your numbers to use. Okay. Just because what you'll see is none of the inputs on this are an industry standard input. And that's what contractors like about it all over the country in Canada, is that it's 100% dedicated to your business, your use rates, your overhead. And so let's take a look at it. So I'm going to do a little, we'll get this rascal going here really quickly, but want to get a few things here. I want to tell Daniel thanks for his help in helping me put all this together and get this for us tonight. So again, if you guys are guests or watching this on a replay or whatnot, would like to join the Profit Circle, we'd love to have you. Simply go there to our website at profitsorus.com, and the link will be right there for you. Here's our team at Profits Unlimited, myself and Kyle and Katie. We're all family. Kyle's experience is he started off ground level in high school, working in the field and learning the industry. And Kyle's now 37, I think. But Kyle heads up all of our landscaping and our lighting division of our company. Katie's our office manager, and Daniel takes care of all the social media aspect of everything we do. So that's our team. We got a diverse group. Katie is Daniel's very well educated. We're not here patting anybody on the back, but Katie's very well educated. Kyle is School of Hard Knocks educated, like his dad, and together we make a great team to help you help your business. So I know one of the things I struggled most with was like I said, was the pricing. But I think it boils down to this: why do you charge what you charge? And these are some of the reasons that I've given myself early on. And my first thing was, I thought, well, I'm small, I can do it cheaper. You're going to see in a minute why that is not correct. The smaller you are, yes, your overhead may be less, but your use rates are generally less. And you'll see where when you calculate cost on equipment or whatnot, it's, use rates are where it's at. So we're going to talk about that side of it. Also, what I called the guest method, a lot of us are either working part-time or into the lawn industry, which is fine. A lot of us get in that way. Or we leave a full-time job to get into this industry, and we're thinking, man, I was making $20 an hour or $30 an hour in my factory job, and man, this is great money. I can mow 2 lawns at $40 a piece, and doesn't hardly take me an hour. So we're going to talk about that mindset. And then, I used to get this from guys a lot of times, and Wayne, you don't know our market. Our market will never pay it. The good thing, what you're going to find out tonight, is Wayne will not tonight or any time ever tell you what to charge. What we do is show you how to calculate your costs based on your overhead, your use rates, and your desired profit margin. Something I tried to do quite a bit was look at my competition and say, well, okay, well, they're charging this, they're charging this. I'll get in the middle and I'll be competitive. And the only thing I want to say to that message and that mindset on bidding jobs is simply this, that if the competition was right, the failure rates for our industry would not be so high. You don't have to believe me. All you got to do is look up the statistical probabilities of your company being in business 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You know, when you start looking at that and you look at companies that have been in business 20 years or longer, it's generally boils down to about 0.5% survive that long. And it's not because we're lazy. It's just because we don't know what we don't know about the business side of our business. And, you know, and then we got the social media aspect. Obviously, when I got in this industry, social media wasn't even a thing, but it is now. You just got to be careful what you get off social media. And, you know, another one of my favorites was this is, you know, asking the client, man, what's it going to take to get the job? What's it going to take to get your work? And the only thing I really want to say about that mindset is after I thought about it, I thought, what am I really telling the customer when I say, what's it going to take to get your work? To me, what it boiled down to was, Wayne, you're telling that customer that you're hungry. You know, you need to work. And when the customer thinks you need to work, more than likely they're going to hammer you worse than we get hammered. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time tonight to talk about all these things, but these are all realities on how we bid jobs. And this one, I had a good friend of mine give me this many, many years ago, Tom Simpson. He said, Wayne, he said, I used a dartboard method. He said, I throw a dart every day based on how bad we need to work. And that's how I do my pricing. And this one, your choice, your price. For you guys that listen to me on Turfs Up Radio, you heard me talk about this just a week or so ago about, and this is something new that we got a flyer on. I get a lot of flyers from guys and door hangers and things like that from you guys and guys across the country and whatnot. But this was his bidding methodology. Your price, you know, you determine what you want to pay. And honest to God, I've got that flyer here in my office. And we just got to think about the message that we're putting out there with that. And one of my favorites, Tim Gadgen, a guy at a seminar one time, after I went through this, he came up to me at a break and he said, Wayne, he said, I got one more you need to add. He said, I used a flinch method. He said, I keep going till they flinch. And I said, well, Tim, maybe, you know what, some of us might call that suggestive selling. But he kind of laughed about it. He said, no, he said, but, you know, he said, I really don't know, Wayne. He said, you're right. And so those are common methodologies that are used. They're creative, but they're all wrong. I don't want you guys running your business. And I did a lot of that right there because I did come out of a corporate America job when I went into this full time. And I thought the sky was bluer than it really was. And I thought, I'm small, I can do it cheaper. And the problem is when you go with the I'm small, I can do it cheaper mindset, even though your overhead might be a little less, or in some cases, significantly less. I had a guy the other day tell me, he says, well, you know, we don't have a building and, you know, we don't need all that. And our overhead's so much lower. I said, I get it, man. I said, I get it, but let's just run some cost sheets on what you do have, the trucks you do have, the trailers you do have, and, you know, your expenses you do have. And at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 times, you'll find out that, hey, just because you're smaller doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to be that much less expensive than a competitor. Because as we grow our businesses, then what do we end up with? We end up with a lot of jobs that are significantly underpriced, whereas we could have closed that gap faster. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight is a quick and accurate cost recovery system that works. And I think what you guys are going to see with it is that it's professional, it's accurate, and you can sell it with confidence. And I just want you guys to learn from my mistakes. That's what it boils down to. And I think the biggest thing that I learned when we implemented this methodology back in 1987 is it gave us the confidence to go out and bid jobs at the price we know that we need to have. And I hope that makes sense to you guys. before we were bidding jobs, and if somebody said, well, Wayne, that's more than I've been paying. If you can do it for, this amount, I'll let you have the work. And I generally would say, okay, because I didn't know where our break even point was. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight is how to calculate your break even point for your business. Not that any of us want to work for break even money, but so we understand how to calculate what our desired profit margin needs to be based on where our break even point is. And then you can decide, hey, am I going to fit within my market, or do I need to go after a different demographic of customers? What are some changes that I may need to make? And maybe it's no change at all. But at least once you sit down and you figure it out, it gives you the peace of mind of knowing why you charge, what you charge. I've got a simple P&L sheet up here, and I'm going to refer to this as we're going through the sheets. But what I want you to remember on this is this average overhead, not on a cost sheet over here where it's got the 14.22%. That's all I want you to think about. The numbers otherwise on here aren't going to matter one bit on what we're doing other than that 14.22%. And those are the numbers that you see highlighted in yellow. And those are the expenses on our sheets that you need to, I'll show you how you recover those expenses in your business as well. So with that being said, I'm going to switch my screen share here, and we're going to go to a sheet. And everybody good on that? Somebody give me a yes that you can see that sheet.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good. All right. Thanks. Appreciate it. So what we're physically going to go through are three sheets: a vehicle sheet, a lawnmower sheet, and an owner labor sheet. Okay. The tabs that you see running across the bottom down there are all the tabs that are actually in our know why you charge what you charge sheet. There's more tabs than you can use for expenses to set a crew up. Okay. So know that you're not going to use all these sheets. Okay. But what I'm putting together for here for you guys that joined us after we started, what we're putting together is a one truck operation. These numbers are not your numbers that to use because your costs are going to be different. But what you will see is how simple the methodology is to implement within your business, and how easy these spreadsheets are to figure out. So first thing we're going to go through and do is a truck. And on a truck, I'm going to use a basis for $35,000. So you just simply enter your purchase price on that truck at $35,000. Then based on how long you're keeping vehicles or whatnot within your business, in this case, we're going to do a 5-year turnaround. But based on your time frame that you're going to keep a vehicle, you're going to come up with a salvage value or residual value. In this case, in this example, we're going to use 10,000 as that answer. Estimated years of life, 5 years. Estimated annual use rates. This sheet can be calculated in hours or miles. Tonight, we're going to do it in hours. I'll show you here in a second, though, that it's simple to do it either way. Okay. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to utilize this vehicle about 2,000 hours during a year. We're going to finance the truck. So down here, you hit 35,000 if that's what you financed. The interest rate that we're financing it, as an example, is 6.5%. Whatever you're financing at, here's what I want you guys to take away. Whatever your percentages are from a finance standpoint or term of the finance, you simply enter into the sheet. Okay. So now what you see, the sheet's beginning to calculate some numbers for. The financed amount, including principal and interest, is $9,275 that needs to be recovered annually. You see the non-financed line. If you would have used a down payment or something on that vehicle, it would have brought something into that line automatically for you. The insurance and taxes. Where can you find the amount of insurance you're paying to insure a vehicle? Get a little bit of interaction from you guys if anybody wants to.
Well, that's pretty simple. Just get that from your insurance policy.
Absolutely.
Your insurance
Absolutely.
agent.
Look right at your auto policy. You're right. Your coverage on your auto policy, and you're going to have the exact amount to put in on that vehicle. So in this case, I'm going to put $1,800 in here. Taxes and license for this is a truck I just looked up for us that we're using is about $575. If you've got any other direct cost, you see that next line's other direct cost line. That's for any other expense that you may have that you want to include with the cost of this vehicle. All right. So if you see what's happening now, it's taken the 2,000 hours that we said we were going to use it. Our total fixed cost is going to be $5.83 a mile. The variable expenses, what you're going to find is we got direct cost and indirect cost and additional overhead, right? Mileage. In this example, I'm using 12,000 miles a year. If you're driving 20,000 miles a year, you'd put 20,000 miles a year there. Estimated fuel mileage. In this example, I'm using 9 miles per gallon. That's going to vary, as we all know, based on your vehicle. So if you're getting 7 miles to the gallon, you put 7. What it's doing then is going to give you a fuel gallons needed. So that's where it says total gallons required based on that mileage is going to be about $1,333. If you see the next line is your input for fuel cost. What do you want to use for fuel? In this example, I'm going to use $4. Okay. If you're comfortable using $3, if you're comfortable using $4.50, whatever you want to input is what you would enter on this line. Okay. So at $4 a gallon, we need 1,333 gallons roughly. We're going to need $5,300 in fuel. When it comes to, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit so we can get past these. When it comes to fuel and maintenance and repairs, that's going to, again, vary for each and every one of us, right? So from a maintenance standpoint, we're going to go with 4,500, just fuel maintenance and repairs on this.
With the sheet Ford.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I knew somebody always says Ford or Chevy or whatever example I use. I hear you. So what this is telling us, though, is, all right, hey, that truck cost based on that number of hours is $10.74 an hour. And I'll show you, we're going to take that over to what we call our putting it all together sheet here in just a second. But let me show you something. If you say, hey, I'd rather calculate it in miles and not hours because I know how many miles a year I'm driving, you just simply go right up here on this top line 12 where we put 2,000 hours and put, you said, hey, down below for your fuel, you said just driving 12,000 miles, right? If you hit 12,000 miles, there's your input. See how it changes your numbers.
12,000, not 1,200.
12,000, I'm sorry. Thank you. I left 0 out. Okay. So what that's done then, if you notice, it's changed our input for us to $1.79 a mile. And what down here is an explanation where at this note tells you how to turn that mileage charge into a hourly charge. So you can do it either way, but for simplicity and time tonight, I was using 2,000 up here, so we didn't have to go through that conversion side of that. So you take that 1074 and see this tab I'm going to click on. It's called Putting It All Together. Each of these sheets that you fill out for this crew, we're doing a mowing crew, all right? You come over here in your truck, you go in here, and I've got the equipment here that we're going to be using. These where it says equipment type, these you would fill in what you're doing. These are the sheets we're going to show tonight, okay? So we put 1074 there. Now, let's go back to a lawnmower. All right, so we're doing a Skag V-Ride. It could be any piece of equipment that you got. I'm using a base price on that V-Ride of $12,960. All right. Based on how long you're going to utilize that lawnmower, in this example tonight, I'm going to use a four years. So I go down, I put 4. All right. If you notice what I've done on the salvage value of that mower is I'm saying, hey, we're going to have a salvage value at the end of those 4 years of about $2,592. I took 20%. I'm not telling you all to use 20%. I want you to take, some guys rotate their lawnmowers every 2 years, right? Some guys keep them till the wheels fall off. So this is all input that's specific to your company, and that's what guys like about it. On a 4-year rotation, we're going to say that lawnmower's got about a 20% residual. All right. Estimated annual use rate in hours. Tonight's case, I'm going to use 740 hours. And let me tell you how I came up with that, just so everybody knows. We've got a 37-week season in Louisville. All right. Our equipment runs about run time is about 20 hours a week. So we take 37 times 20, that's the 740. Okay. If you're mowing in a market, say in Michigan or Maine or Florida, those hours of use are going to be completely different. Okay. So you just ask yourself, how many weeks am I providing service, and what's my average run time on that equipment? You do have to put your thinking cap on when you're going through these sheets the first time. The good thing is you don't have to do it every time you bid a job. So in this example, we're at 740 hours. If we finance that more, we go 12,960. I'm going to use a 4% finance for 4 years. And now we're starting to get some real numbers, right? If you don't finance it, the guys say, well, Wayne, I'm not financing lawnmowers, or I'm not financing string trimmers, or I'm not financing blowers. That's fine. Then you just don't fill out the financing side of this. And watch, I'll show you. If we make that a 0, okay, then we come down here, the non-financed amount to be recovered annually, it picks that up for you. So you can use either or both. If you make a down payment on something, you put your finance in and it'll calculate the rest for you, is my point with that. All right. So now insurance, same thing. Where do we find insurance? We look at our inland marine policy, right, where we have scheduled equipment. And here's something, when you look at that inland marine policy and you've got a lawnmower scheduled, let's say, you're going to be able to look and see what you're paying to insure it. If your policy doesn't have it broke down for you, it's a simple formula to use. And this will be on your inland marine policy because it'll be your catastrophic loss total on your inland marine. You take your total equipment that you have on that policy, divide it by 100. And that's going to give you a given number. And whatever that number is, you take your premium for that inland marine, divide it by the number that you come up with when you take your equipment and divide it by 100. And that's going to be your cost per 100 to insure your equipment. It's a simple number. It's something we can certainly help you with. It's certainly something your agent can tell you. And it may already be on your policy listed as an itemized expense for that equipment. In this case, we're going to put in $388 as that cost. All right. So if you see now what's happening, this form's beginning to autofill. So our direct cost is $5.60 based on that lawnmower being that number of hours used. Before we go further, let's just do something for the fun of it. I'm going to go up here and change that 740 hours. Now keep your eye on this 560 right here. Okay. Let's say you're in a market where you're only getting 475 hours. Or you're the guy that says, I'm small, I can do it cheaper. Watch what happens when we change that to 475 hours. Same lawnmower, same finance time, but use rates are different. That's why we got to be careful on telling somebody, looking at social media and saying, well, hey, man, you need to have a $60 minimum or a $100 minimum or an $80 minimum. Run your own numbers through these sheets and you come up with what's right for you based on your use rates. 740 hours comes down automatically. Whatever you enter up here on this line comes down automatically. The fuel consumption on this particular mower is about 1.6 gallons an hour. So we need 1,184 gallons of fuel. Again, I'm estimating this at $4 a gallon. The reason I'm using $4 a gallon is that's just what we use here. I'm not telling you guys to use $4 a gallon. Some guys just add a fuel surcharge on. We stopped doing fuel surcharges. We just anticipate what we think our maximum is going to be on fuel, calculate our costs based on that, and then we approach our customers from the standpoint of, hey, we're not going to have a fuel surcharge. And as long as we're not over $4, our pricing's fine. And we always try to anticipate it higher than what it's going to be. And sometimes we have to go in and make an in-season adjustment on that, but so far, so good. Maintenance and repairs, in this particular case, we're going to go 400 and 600. Now, that number is going to be different for everybody watching tonight, right? So if you're an owner-operator, your repairs and maintenance is probably going to be different than a company that has different operators. I mean, I've been on both sides of that fence, okay? How long you keep a piece of equipment, as you guys know, is going to directly affect your maintenance, right? The older it gets, the more downtime you're going to have, the more issues you're going to have with it. So the older that more gets, guys say, well, man, I keep my lawnmower 7 or 8 years. I'm and it's still fine. That's fine. But know that as you keep those lawnmowers longer, that's when you're going to potentially have more expense down here in this area. So it's not wrong or right to do it either way. And what I mean by that is it's not wrong or right to rotate every 2 years, every 3 years, every 5 years. But however you're doing it, know that your cost is going to be directly affected. In this case, this lawnmower, based on this number of hours of use in a season, is going to cost us $13.35. So we go over to our putting it all together sheet, and we put that in there at $13.35, right? Now, we got another second V-Rod we're not going to go through the price sheet on, but the price on it, that worked out to $12. I'm looking right here at it, $12.81. We got a trailer up here that I got a sheet on that, again, we're not going to go through the trailer because I want to save time to go through a labor sheet, but I've got all these here that I'm looking at that I want you guys to know. This is a 16-foot tandem axle trailer running it through a cost sheet. We're at 83 cents an hour cost on that. Now, let's look at it labor. Now, before I go on to labor, and I know I'm moving along pretty fast here, but because I want to just make sure you guys, if you got any questions at all, I'll answer any questions you got when we're finished. But each piece of it, as you see here, I'm not going to go through our trimmers just for the sake of time, or through a trimmer, but we do have them, right? You've got them, I've got them if we're mowing. What you see is the methodology stays the same. Here's a quick look at a sheet on what it looks like. You put the cost of your trimmer in. Again, you just scroll down the sheet. How long you going to keep it? What's your estimated annual use rates in hours? Is it financed? Yes or no? Most of us are not financing string trimmers and blowers. But here's something I want you guys to think about when we talk about cost per hour. Just because you can write a check for a string trimmer or blower or any piece of equipment, that money is still worth something to you. So if you want a return on that, even though you paid for that out of your own business account, you can recover it as if it's been financed. I hope that makes sense. We put financing even though it's not financed on everything. You do not have to do that, but we do it here just because I want a return on our money.
Hey, Wayne, can I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
We lump steel power equipment all into one.
Do you? All right.
Yeah, we just string trimmers, blowers, backpacks, whatever. We just lump everything into one and come up with that cost per hour.
Absolutely. You can do that as well. Absolutely.
Okay.
Not a problem at all doing that. Okay. Some guys for like hedge trimmers and things won't even run a cost sheet on a hedge trimmer. They just run it through as additional overhead costs.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So it can be done either way. Great point. Great point. All right. So again, you just work yourself down the sheet. When we get into this direct or indirect or variable cost down here, we got to think with a string trimmer about 2-cycle mix, our line, additional heads, maintenance and repairs. Okay, so that's where that's coming from. Now, what I want to do, well, let me go back and bring that number over here real quick. 468. 468. We're going to, a lot of guys are running with 2 of them on their trailer. All right. And on a blower, I'm not going to go through that blower sheet, but I do want to put it in here. And blowers are crazy what they cost to operate. Look at this. Now this is where God says I'm small, I can do it cheaper. It isn't necessarily always going to be the right answer when you actually run it through some sheets. Now, let's go through one of these labor sheets. And here's what I want to tell you guys that are with us tonight, as well as you guys that are watching this on a replay. A lot of times we're confused as owner operators about how we're getting our money back, how we're getting paid. You are an expense to your company, whether you're a solo operator or a multi-crew company, especially, and again, this is a solo operator with a helper is what the scenario I'm doing tonight. But I say that for this reason. Don't pay yourself out of profit. You're an expense just like any other employee is. So I'm going to go through this sheet as being an owner operator. And first thing we got to decide is, all right, how many hours a week are we going to, now y'all going to laugh when I do this input, but I'm going to use 40. Okay. So what I'm building here again is a 1-truck operation, and I'm trying to keep my expenses as low as I can because I don't want you guys thinking I'm out here overinflating the cost here. All right. Know that it's probably not going to get any less expensive than this. And the reality of it is it's probably going to get more expensive. So as an owner operator, I want a paycheck every week, or I want to be paid for the year, right? I'm generally not getting any overtime. So I'm not getting paid for overtime. Let's put it that way. But so I'm not using overtime. So again, I'm not overinflating our cost here. I think $30 an hour is a fair number. If you want to, whatever you want to work for, though, here's the nice thing about these labor sheets. We haven't forgotten about anything that we know of. Okay. And you're going to see that you've got an opportunity on input to change these numbers around to see, hey, what works, what doesn't work. Hey, I'm going to just run this through at $30 an hour because I think as an owner operator, you're worth at least that. But if I'll show you in a minute how all you got to do is come back up here and change this number, and it'll change the whole sheet for you automatically. All right. Cash bonuses. Let's say we're going to give ourselves $1,000 bonus at some point during the year. Again, trying to keep these numbers real. Federal unemployment, 0.6%. Okay. That's calculated for you based on a $7,000 max in payroll. Your state unemployment. In this scenario, I'm using 3%. That's going to vary from state to state based on what you've pulled from your pool. In our state, our max payroll on that is $11,700. Work comp. I know some of you guys don't have work comp, but what this sheet will do for you is position you to be able to have work comp. A lot of people, man, I can't afford it, or I don't need it, I'm not going to have it. And then all of a sudden one day you have an epiphany and you decide, you know what, I am going to get work comp. I need it. I want to get some commercial work, and I know I need it. So that'll be entered as a percentage. On this example, I'm going to use 9%. Now, again, do not use that as your number. Look at your work comp. You'll see, here's a takeaway that's not on these sheets from tonight. Make sure you're properly classified in your work comp. We were misclassified for a long time. A lot of agents want to put our mowing into landscape gardening classification, okay, which is a higher work comp rate than Parks 9102. So if you don't take away anything else from this tonight, check your work comp and make sure if you're mowing that you're in a classification called Parks 9102. And if you're not, and reach out to your agent. If your agent says that's not right, tell him it is right. They need to check it. Okay. And depending on what state you're watching us in, when we first found out in Kentucky, we were able to go back on 3 years of audits and get the difference back in premiums. So make sure you're classified properly.
Wayne, I've heard you say that before. Is that a federal thing or a state to state thing?
It's a state to state on the reimbursement.
Okay.
Okay. But the work comp is going to, well, work comp can vary by state too, based on the state you're in. But just make sure that they do have you in the proper classification, and it's Parks 9102.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. I'm going to scroll down this sheet a little bit so y'all can see. I've not added any big expenses into this. I haven't added life insurance or health insurance. If you've got those expenses, they would be listed here. If you've got an IRA that you're contributing to as a business, that entry would be here. Uniforms, in this case, I'm going to put $400 in there. Again, you're not going to use $400. Maybe yours is $700 for an employee or yourself on hoodies and shirts and jackets and whatever it is you're buying as uniforms. But we're going to put something there. All right. If you got any other type of compensation, whether it's educational, gift cards that you're giving somebody. If you see down here, we've got entries for gift cards or holiday bonuses or whatever it is. Those are entered here on this labor sheet. Now, here's a fun one to think about. Hours paid but not worked. Okay. Holiday pay. You know, if now in this case, we're talking about an owner operator, and most of us want to be paid for holidays. So in this example, I'm going to put 30 hours there. What that 30 hours is representing in this example is Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July, and Thanksgiving. Okay. Four times 7.5 hours is 30 hours. Vacation time, I'm going to, as an owner, I'm going to say, man, you need a week vacation. So we're putting a minimum of 40 hours in there. If you're offering sick time or maybe 2 weeks vacation to an employee and you're running this sheet for an employee, whatever hours of PTO or paid time off that you've got, you want to enter here, because what it's going to do is subtract those hours from the total hours that you entered above. Okay. So we got 70 hours we're allocating of paid time off. So that cost up here that started at $30 is now at $37.19. Now let's say you say, hey man, I ain't working for 30. I want $40 an hour. Here's where you can just simply go up here to your sheet, change your hourly rate, and it calculates the whole sheet differently for you. Okay. It's that simple. It's that simple to do. So the reality of it is, use the numbers that are right for your company. But at the end of the day, you can see I've not overinflated this. Most of us are going to have some type of life insurance or health insurance or dental insurance or additional compensation somewhere, educational expense for you guys that are treating lawns, you know, and you need CEUs, that's an expense. So I have not overinflated these. So what I'm going to take this $37.19, go to our putting it all together sheet over here under owner salary and put $37.19. I calculated a crew helper in this situation at, and I'll show you here. Let me slide out here and I'll show you where we got it. Here's that same thing done for a helper all the way down through the sheet. And we put them at $21 an hour. So their total cost coming over to our putting it all together sheet is $27.30. And again, you can see I've not added a whole lot of additional expense in here for it. I'm trying to build a realistic expectation on why smaller can't do it cheaper. And the reality of it is you got to know what it's costing you to go out and provide your services. So we put $27.30 in there. What this sheet's doing for us now, you see it's got total equipment costs $60.12, Our labor cost is going to be, add these two together. That's why it says how many people are on this crew. Two, our average labor cost per hour is $32.25. It's adding this and this together. We're at $92.37 right now. Now we got to think about additional overhead and contingencies. Remember when I brought that P&L up earlier and I said, remember that number was the expenses on that P&L that are not covered on our form was 14.22%. That is minimum what has to be entered here. It's 14.22. That's recovering your additional overhead. So now we've accounted for direct cost, indirect, and additional overhead. At Wayne's Lawn Service, we add 3% to that. So I'm going to do it in this one. Just because you don't have to do it, but I'll tell you why here in just a second. So I'm going to put 17.22% as my input there. We add 3% contingencies, things that don't happen all the time, but happen sometimes, right? I mean, it's not normal for a guy to run over a fire hydrant, but sometimes they do it. And that's an exaggeration, but maybe a water meter, right? And something gets tore up, or they don't put oil in a lawnmower, right? Or they don't put 2-cycle mix in a blower. Has it ever happened to anybody besides us? You know, I mean, it happens sometimes. It's not a normal expense. So we had 3%. I'm not saying you got to use 3%. I'm just saying think of those things that don't happen all the time, but they do happen sometimes. All right. So now if you look here, the break-even point in this example is $108.27 a labor hour. Now, what does that tell you as a business owner? That tells me as a business owner that I need $108.27 to flat break even per hour. So now let's break this down even a little bit further. If I'm out mowing a property and I've got a bid at one labor hour, right? And I'm doing it for $100 a mow, what's that tell me? Anybody?
You better be doing it in about a half an hour.
Better be doing it in about a half an hour, because otherwise I'm losing. Let's look at an hour. Let's just match an hour to an hour. I'm losing $8.27 every time I mow it.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. So that's where knowing your numbers is so important. It's obviously we all want to sell for as high as we can, get what the market will bear. But what this will do for you, and what I tell guys and contractors all the time is, this is the most important number you know, because what you do with that number is it's not just about going out and selling new work. It's look at your existing customers, because what do we know about our existing customer base? We know how long they take and how much they pay. So now we can look at our customers that we already have and say, who's okay, who's not okay. That's the importance of knowing that break-even number. Now, from a how much you want to mark it up standpoint, you know, that's going to be strictly up to you. And here's where what will your market bear come into play, or what type of customers, you know, you want to go after comes into play. But your break-even is the most important number that you're ever going to know as a company. Again, not that any of us want to go out and sell for break-even money. I don't, you don't, none of us do. But before we add margin to it, we got to understand where that break-even is for our company. In this case, I'm just going to put a fun number in there of 15.25%. Okay? Use whatever you want as a markup. If you want 10%, if you want 20%, based on the this is a mowing example that we've went through. But let's say you're going through landscaping, or we are going through fertilization and weed control, or you guys that do snow and ice management. Okay, our profit margin is going to be much better in anything other than mowing. Mowing is just so overhead driven and overhead expense wise that it's hard to go out and make a really great margin mowing lawns. We can, when you look at it statistically, you guys have heard me speak before and know me. I hate to use industry standards, but I mean, just talking about it, if you look at the industry as a whole, only the top 25% of the companies in the country are maintaining a margin at 20 or greater for mowing. And that's not by accident. It's because they've changed the demographics of the customers they're going after because they understand their cost, and they're only going to take those better mowing accounts. Now, they may take something for less, just the same way we do. I mean, if we can maintain 12 to 15% on mowing at Wayne's Lawn Service, I'm happy. I don't know what you'll have to decide what your own happy number is. But for us, we'll take the mowing at a smaller margin in order to get the other work. And that's why diversification sometimes, or not sometimes, all the time, becomes a very important fact in this. So, but adding this 15.25% takes us to 124.78 a labor hour. All right. Now you got to ask yourself, okay, how do I establish my minimum then to mow a residential lawn? You got to ask yourself, first of all, what size residential lawn do you want to use as a minimum basis? Is it 3,000, 5,000, 7,000 square feet, whatever it is? And then say, okay, how many can we get done in a single labor hour? If we can get 2 of those done in a single, let's just use 2 as an example here. If you take 124.78, divide it by 2, you need to have about a $63 minimum. If you're going to a smaller yard minimum, maybe you'll be around that $50 range. I didn't do this math. I'm gonna do it right now. Go on a calculator. Give me a second. Let's say we average about 2.5. That's going to put us at $49.90. The point is, if you go through these sheets and you use them, you're no longer guessing at what you're charging to do a lawn. You hit file, save as, mowing crew number 1. You go through, if you guys are running tractors and skid steers, you use one of those purchased equipment sheets down here that you see, right? I'm just going to pull this one up. This one will be a blank one. And you would go through this same sheet for a skid steer or a tractor or a power seeding machine or a Z spray. Any equipment you're running, you run through these sheets and you'll know where the break-even number's at. Then you can add your markup, and then you can decide what you want your desired profit margin to be on that. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to go back to here, and I would be happy to entertain any questions that anybody might have on those sheets.
Wayne, I a couple of years ago, I switched to a software that has literally saved my company. And we went through this, and we switched to one-man mowing crews. We have 2 crews. Of course, we run 57 robotic mowers, which has helped us tremendously. But and I don't want anybody to use this number, but our cost per hour to mow, our break-even point is $69.82 an hour for a one-man crew. A 0-turn mower, string trimmers, blowers. The other factor that I'll throw into this is if you switch to battery operated, I think that's going to reduce your cost.
Absolutely.
We've done that. I mow 3 days a week. I help my guy mow. And I run a battery operated string trimmer, blower, and push mower. I have no mixed gas. So, my costs are a little less. I try to run $1,000 a day mowing grass, and I normally meet that. I don't want anybody else to use those numbers because that's, like you said, my numbers are going to be different from yours.
Absolutely.
But as an owner operator with 10 employees, I can basically double or triple my salary in what I do in 3 days. So this is, I get irritated when I see guys on Facebook and go, "What would you charge?"
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no idea. You're in Charlotte. I'm in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Our numbers are going to be way different. So this is great. This is tremendous for anybody that's watching.
I appreciate that, and that that's what it saved our company when we implemented this, because we were doing a huge volume, had no idea why we were doing it, what we were doing.
Yep.
We were just doing a lot of it. And when you, this is simple and it's accurate. That's the
Yeah.
thing about it. And I think you bring up a very valid point that a lot of contractors are not receptive yet to battery operated equipment. But when you run a and I've done this for Crest, I've run several of their pieces of equipment through cost sheets for them,
Yep.
you know, and they did too. I mean, I didn't have to be the one to do it, but
I'm running Greenworks.
but regardless of which ones you run on
Yep.
a cost sheet, when you eliminate fuel maintenance and repairs,
Yep.
you can take a whole lot higher number to top of that sheet.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
because you don't have that. So don't look at just the cost of that battery operated equipment.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I would hope that other guys are receptive to this. You know, the dealer that we deal with in our robotics, I've said, you know, do you have any other contractors that are looking at robotics? And he goes, you talk to a landscaper about robotic mower and they turn around and walk away. Well, we're the other way. We've literally taken our lawn mowing crew from 115, 120 hours a week to 55 hours a week with robotics. There's a huge investment, but you know, it's there. It really is.
And I think that is a wave of the future for sure.
It is.
And guys like yourself that have jumped onto that early are going to convince other contractors that, hey man,
yeah,
you need to at least look at it, do your due diligence and research on it.
Yeah.
I know we had a hard time looking at battery initially, and we're pulling the trigger on all of our 2-cycle stuff. I think for sure.
Well, you know, I'm 60 years old. My son is 32. You know, we're at Expo last year, and I'm looking at all the battery technology, and he goes, "We don't need that shit, Dad. We don't need that." And I'm like, I want all I can get because, you know, here's the old guy wanting to know all about battery technology, and the young kid, he's like, "No, we don't need that." Yes, we do, because it's coming. That's what's here.
Well, it's coming, and I think a lot of the pushback on it, number one, like you said, is cost.
Yeah.
But secondly, it's you know, they think it doesn't have the power.
Oh.
Well, there's plenty of torque. There's plenty of battery. I mean, there's companies now that are recharging almost immediately.
Yep.
You know, so
it's 96 degrees today here in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. I open the doors to my truck and take my battery operated trimmer and blow air through my truck to get the hot air out so my damn air conditioning would run right. So, you know, I take my blower into my office and blow the shit off the floor. So.
That's funny, man. I did that same thing just 2 days ago. I grabbed our little handheld battery blower and brought it in here. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm vacuuming."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I know.
God. But no, I think you said it well, in that, you know, what the best thing any of us can do for our business is to sit down and figure out what our break-even point is.
Yeah.
And until you do that, you guys that are live with us and you guys that are watching this on a replay, certainly you owe it to yourself. You don't owe it to me. You don't owe it to anybody. You owe it to yourself and your family and your business to know it, and your employees, because your employees are counting on that as well. You know, they're counting on your business to be successful and them to have a job and them to have a career. And, you know, and we'll talk about employees at another day when we have a few beers, but no, I'm just teasing. But, you know, that, because that's again where some of that technology can come into play. There you go. So, but anybody else have any questions? Gaither, how about you, my friend? Freddie? You guys are new in with us tonight. Any questions on those sheets?
I got a question. So let's say you have a truck, but it's not financed, it's paid off.
Sure.
How would you recover that?
All right, here, let me show you here. Okay. Let me go back to my screen share for a second. All right.
You still have costs associated with that truck.
Yes, and then let me show you on this sheet. Notice on the top of this sheet where it says purchase cost or replacement cost.
Yes.
that's where if you get a good deal on any type of truck, a lawnmower, a snowplow, whatever, any type of equipment, what's it going to take to replace it? So even though it's paid for, all you're going to do is skip this finance portion up here. Let's just say, for an example, okay, um, let's just do it real quick. Heck, it won't take us 5 seconds. This is how easy these sheets are to use. Let's just say what kind of value you want to put on that truck. Doesn't
Uh,
matter.
the used truck or the replacement?
Whatever you're going to replace that truck with.
Um, Probably 10,000 to 15,000 used.
Okay, so let's split it just for the fun of it, right? Let's say 12,500 on a truck. Okay, salvage value. What do you want to say that truck's going to be worth when you get rid of it?
Good question. 2,500. I'm not
All
sure.
right.
How would you do that?
Well, if you know that, hey, I bought a $12,000 truck, so that truck's maybe what 15 years old, 12 to 15 years old, or whatever year it is. I'm going to keep it 5 years or 3 years or whatever it is you think you're going to keep it. So then you put your best guess at what the residual value is going to be when you get rid of it and replace it again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's just say you go in here with 2,500 for an example. And here's again, you can use this sheet this easy. I'm going to keep that truck 4 years. All right. Annual use rate. Which kind of mileage you want to drive it? In a
Probably
year.
about 15 to 20,000 for us.
All right, let's do 15,000 just for the fun of it. Okay. All right. We didn't finance it. So see, we're going to leave that blank. So see down here where it says non-financed amount to be recovered annually at 2,500.
Yes.
So that's where it is. See, so it's taking this 10,000, dividing it by 4, bringing that 2,500. That's getting you to the $10,000 on the truck, and your residual is going to be 2,500, and you're going to have $12,500 at the end of 4 years, based on 17 cents a mile as direct costs. That makes sense.
Yes.
Then you just go down this way. Fuel consumption. Let's just put 8 miles. All right. And then $4 a gallon. Repairs and maintenance, I don't think it'd be any less than 1,000 a year. Do you?
No.
So let's just use 1,000 just to come up with a number. All right. So now what do we have? We got a crazy expensive truck. All right. Hold on. This number. Let's see. Oh God, hold on. Look what I did here. We just went through an equipment sheet, not a mileage sheet. All right. So my bad. Let me go back over here. We're going to do something. Let's go back here.
Come on, Wayne. Were you drinking too?
I think so. I used an equipment sheet. That's why we have these specific sheets for trucks, because of that right there. That's why we made them separately for guys. Okay. Let's go back to this truck. All this is going to be, let's just overwrite this one real quick. Watch this. 12,500, 2,500, right? 4 years. We're going to go, what was the mileage? We say 15?
15.
15,000. There we go. All right. 0 financed on it. All right. Insurance and taxes. What do you think you're going to pay in insurance on that truck?
Oh, wow. I mean, Georgia is high. Let's just say, let's say 1,800. It's somewhere around.
All right. All right. And then licensing fee per year on that's going to be another, what, 400 or 500 or less?
When you say licensing fees, you mean like your tags and all
Like your annual tags and taxes.
We pay that one time here now.
Oh,
And
do you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have this expense, correct?
Pay it one time when you buy the truck, and then you pay like $20 just for the sticker every year.
All right. So you comfortable with putting $20 here?
No.
You good with that, or what you want to use?
I don't know. What's the best way? Because Georgia,
whatever's real for you. If you know that, hey,
I mean, that would be the fee to renew every year after the initial cost.
Okay.
Because they'll put the tags and the taxes. and all of that, you pay all that up front now.
All
When,
right.
when
Is
you
that
purchase,
$1,800 above that going to cover that for you?
that's the insurance.
Your insurance and taxes?
Yeah,
All right. And then annually, what's that truck going to cost you to get a light, to get your new sticker?
$20 after
Uh,
that.
All right. So there we go. All right. So now we come down here. So that truck in that scenario, let's change your maintenance down to, what do you want to use for a maintenance cost? 1,000? Did you say
About 2,000.
2,000?
It's old, so it probably
All right.
need a little more work.
All right. So we got 2,000 there. We got $5,300 in fuel. All right. So that truck's going to run you about 78 cents a mile. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what you do? How do you turn miles into hours to get it onto that putting it all together sheet? Since everything over there is listed in hours, okay. What you do is you look at, okay, I'm gonna be driving about. Let me get those numbers the same. It's going to go up a little bit because we use 15,000. Okay. All right. We're going to buy a little more fuel. All right. So we're at 87 cents a mile. Now you say, okay, if let's just say a person's mowing 100 yards a week with that truck, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you drive. I'm gonna just keep the math easy on it, right? You drive 300 miles to do those 100 yards, okay? We've got an average distance of 3 miles on average between stops. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we're going to take 3 times that 87 cents a mile and add $2.61 as your truck charge. That's what this blue section in here explains to you right here on this form.
Okay.
How to do that. So you can use any value, new or used truck, and be sure to use the truck sheet. You saw why just a minute ago. Okay. All right. But that truck would then cost you about 87 cents a mile. Then you would use this mileage calculator down here based on the route you're running to get to your 15,000 miles. Make
Okay.
sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. Anybody else? I've had too many Miller Lights, I guess.
Wayne, I don't mean to take over things here, but
Go ahead. No, that's what we're here for.
Guys really need to come up with a number. Like I said, we switched to and I'll say 3 years ago we switched to LMN. It's a little pricey, but it literally has saved our company. We did the budget. We put all of our equipment in. We do some prevailing wage work, so we put those hourly rates in. I could do a $50,000 estimate in about 10 minutes. Because everything's there. Materials there, mulch, stone, concrete, doesn't matter. Everything's there. Our equipment, from skid loaders to excavators to dump trucks to trailers. We call it our landscape trailer. It has all the tools, hand rakes, shovels,
right,
sprayers, that kind of shit. Now the Turf Tech edger and all that's separate, but we recover everything. And like you said, you have to.
You have
and,
to.
When a guy goes, what would you charge? I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't know what you got.
Yeah. So, and even on lawn mowing, like I said, lawn mowing, as a one-man mowing crew, our break-even point $69 and like 82 cents an hour. Landscaping, we know that number. We know snow plowing number. And I'll say this, I don't give a shit. My lowest profit margin that I can go in a job is 13.7%. That's what I know. Now I can adjust that. If there's a
Isn't that funny how close we were?
Yeah. Yeah. If there's a PETA fee,
yeah, then it goes up.
Then that profit margin number might be 30%.
Right.
But it drives me crazy, and I think you and I are in the same boat, when I see contractors, what they call landscape contractors, where a guy's out there in Crocs and a tank top and gym shorts mowing grass, you're not a professional. You're a shitbag. Um, put some company clothing on, make yourself look professional, act professional, and charge your worth.
That's right.
Years ago, I had a guy in the garbage business to tell me, you can get a job anywhere. You went in business to make money.
That's right.
That's as simple as it can be.
100%. That's well said.
You know, I lived this same as you did for a long time, and figured I need to work harder, and I did work harder, and I'm still losing my ass. I had a banker tell me one time he didn't know somebody's credit score could go that low, but you know your numbers, know where
Yeah.
you're at, and you know I've had customers that go, I don't want to pay that. Well, then find somebody else. You're not going
Somebody,
to hurt my
that's right.
feelings.
Somebody will do it for whatever they
Yeah.
want to pay,
Yeah.
and the thing is, I mean, we've got it simplified enough for somebody within those Excel spreadsheets that there's no reason that you don't know the number.
Right.
You know,
As I said the other day, when you're in your show, True Green will spray that lawn for $24.95. Let them spray that. I went through that when I had a lawn care company. I owned a Scott's Lawn Service franchise for, I don't know, 6 years till Scott's bought us. And True Green, they're the horror of the industry. They'll do anything for $29.95. So we know our numbers, and I would encourage everyone to
do
know
you feel like it set you free once you sat down and calculated your cost per hour?
It did.
It did me. It
did.
takes an extreme weight off your shoulder.
Yeah.
Regardless of what service that you're offering.
Yep.
And I mean, we can get much deeper into numbers than we did tonight, but I just like to turn that light on for somebody that, hey, I can do this, just because I'm small or just because I've been doing this 5 years or whatever. Our biggest success stories that we get from contractors are guys that were in a condition like I was in, that have been in business 5, 6, 7 years, thinking they're going to fix it with more work and not really knowing why they're charging what they're charging. You fix it with knowing what the bottom line is.
Right.
That's how you
your
fix
numbers.
It.
Know that you can make money. And I will share this. The IRS has no sense of humor. When you been there, done that.
Me too.
So, charge what you need to charge, and if they don't like it, walk away. Yeah. I've heard you talk about, like the guy today that's owed $40,000. And then the guys that get the national accounts. No, I've been there. I've done that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, that's why we learn.
Yeah.
School of Hard Knocks, and that's what the profit circle is about, to help guys save you some of that trial and tribulation that guys like we've been through. And heck, even Corey and Mike and these guys, Craig, I mean Seth, these guys been in business a while, and
right. We're at the end of June, and I'm picking customers that we're probably not going to have next year as a lawn mowing account.
Yeah.
Either A, they're a pain in the ass. B, they haven't paid. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'll find something else to do. I'll go to the beach. I don't care.
Hey, I appreciate your input. I really do. All the time, man. When you hop on and you text on my show, and then here as well, it's we can help each other. And
we can.
We can all help each other, and it doesn't matter that somebody's in Louisville, Kentucky, or Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, or Corey over in the Mid-Atlantic, and Gaither where he's at. And I mean,
and there's so much work out there.
There's enough work for everybody.
I'm embarrassed to say I can't get back to everyone. I do my best, but there's so much work out there for everyone. But be professional, for Christ's sake. Be professional.
I know you guys cannot see it, but on my monitor right here, and I leave it there. I can take a picture and show y'all. It says the image you reflect is the income you should expect.
Yeah.
And I want to, every time I look at my monitor, I think of that when I'm putting a proposal together for somebody, that, hey, we might not be the least expensive, but we know we're not overcharging you. We
Right.
just know what it takes to get the job done and for us to be here next time you call, you know?
I've told my employees over the years, you're a professional. And when I first said that probably 15 years ago, they laughed at me.
Yeah.
Baseball player can hit the ball 3 out of 10 times. He's a professional.
He's a millionaire.
He's a millionaire. A basketball player can hit 3 or 4 or 10 times out of 10. He's a professional. Doctors are still practicing.
Yeah.
We're professionals. Act like it, look like it, be professional.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions at all on these sheets? Again, you don't have to use ours. Ours are easy to use. I think y'all saw how easy they are to utilize. For you guys that are in the profit circle that are utilizing them, we appreciate that. And you guys that aren't, if you'd like to, we've got a code for you, coupon code for those for you guys. And for you guys that are watching this outside the profit circle, you can use our Turfs Up Radio code for 10% off. Profit circle is bigger discount than that, but simply if you like this or any of our products, our estimators, we got an out. I'm not saying because it's ours. We had a lot of help from across the country on a snow and ice estimator that is really easy to use and accurate as well. You use these sheets to calculate your costs, but as far as time, material, and contracts, that snow estimator, but it's simply Turfs Up Radio, all lowercase. Turfs Up Radio, all lowercase at checkout, and you will get a 10% discount applied. So
earlier, you said inland marine. Is that the same thing as general liability?
No, that's different. Your inland marine, your general, let me back up. Your inland marine policy, Corey, is going to be where you have scheduled equipment. Okay. It will be part of your general liability package, but it's going to be its own listing. It'll say inland marine, and it's where you'll have your cars and your vehicles aren't going to be listed there. They're going to be on an auto policy. Okay. But your inland marine policy will be part of your general liability package. And it'd be separate of those. And it'll be where you've got like any equipment scheduled. And you're based on what you want to schedule. You can set a limit on what you schedule. You may want to schedule items over $1,000 or over $2,000, and then you'll have a category to catch those though. Help me, John. Somebody help me. What's that called?
Like an umbrella?
And it's an umbrella for things that you don't have scheduled on your inland marine. Basically, I can't think of right off the top of my head what it's called. We need my buddy here, Brad Stewart. But you can look directly at your inland marine policy for that answer.
Corey, I hope you have a good agent. My agent visits me every year, and and of course I bust his balls and say I want to try to reduce my cost. Hopefully you have a good agent. Go down through that with him. Tell him what's this? Ask questions and make sure he's covering you for what you need. We like Wayne said, we go through all that, the inland marine with the equipment, and then we also have an umbrella. I have really good insurance. I hope I never have to use it, but I ask questions. Make sure your agent is taking care of you. That's the biggest thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the amount of money about margins. Insurance has got big margins in it. Make them work for it.
Yeah. I ain't talked to my agent in years.
Oh, you need to find another agent, pal.
Yeah. Yeah, Corey, seriously, you need to reach out to somebody else. If you don't know anybody or have anybody, certainly I would reach out to Brad Stewart here in the Profit Circle.
Yeah.
He can help you. He's licensed in a lot of states.
Yeah, do that, man, because it sounds like you're getting beat up, man. Just to make sure you're right. My insurance agent is a customer. So we try to take care of each other. And like I said, every year he visits me and we go down through our policy. I would encourage you to do that. If you haven't talked to your agent, I don't tell you what to do, but I'd find another agent.
Yeah.
Like Wayne said, I'd deal with somebody from the Profit Circle that has knowledge in that and could help you.
Anything? Anybody else got anything?
Seth,
Daniel?
did you shoot that deer?
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah, yeah.
Where you at?
That's legal, Kentucky.
Where? All right, good for you. Good for you.
So, Daniel, if you would you mind just telling people how they can get a hold of us if they need to, my friend? All right.
Yeah, you can go to our website, profitsareus.com, and you can find the link to the Profit Circle there, as well as all of our products. And then you can also find the links there to all of our social media, our YouTube channel, all that good stuff. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm sure you could feel free to reach out via the website, or I'm sure Wayne will share his email if he wants to do that. He usually does. But
Yep.
yeah, that's the best place to do it, is at profitsareus.com.
Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you all. Appreciate
Yep.
each and every one of y'all. You guys in the
Thanks, Wayne.
Profit Circle. Hey, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate you giving me an hour and 30 minutes of your life tonight. And hopefully we all leave a little bit better for it. So you guys have a great evening. And if you got any questions, be sure to reach out in the Profit Circle. Shoot us some Q&As, man. We haven't had one for a while. So we enjoy doing those for sure.
Great. Take care. See you all.
Appreciate it, Wayne.
See you
All right,
guys.
appreciate y'all.